So let's talk about love today. What does love look like as a spiritual practice? As a mature spiritual practice, a spiritual practice that is all encompassing and a spiritual practice that is God conscious and unity conscious. You know, we each, no matter what spiritual practice we have our own experience of what we either call religion or our own personal spirituality. And that's unique to each one of us. I would bet that there aren't any two of us that are exactly the same in that department. So how does your religion or your spiritual belief inform your practice? What is your God like? Have you thought about that lately? Have you thought about your God, your idea of God, your definition of God, or your experience of God? And as we explore love this Sunday, I invite you to explore this question. Does your God resemble Santa at all? And in what ways? Has your God grown up from a childhood idea of an external presence that is there watching you all the time, deciding whether you're good enough or not for something? Or is your God more expansive than that? Does your God count what you do, make record of it, and deliver gifts to you according to how you show up and whether or not you're good enough? Does your God do that for other people in the world around you? When something happens to someone outside of you in an area that doesn't affect you, are there any limited ideas still lingering around that go into the idea that they're somehow less blessed than you are, that they're somehow less worthy of their divine birthright? Is your God at all like Santa? Does your God bring unexpected gifts, bring miracles to the seasons of your life? Does your God deliver little packages wrapped all special for you and awaken love within your heart? See, as we mature on the spiritual path and in our spiritual growth, we get to decide and discern what we are connected to as far as God conscious. And I encourage each one of us to let go of some of the childhood limited ideas of God as Santa and take on some of the mystical, loving ideas of God as Santa. It is for each one of us to allow our practice and our spirituality to inform our actions and our activities. So what does love look like when informed by your knowing of what God is, or your experience or your feeling of what God is to the best of your ability? What does love look like? Do you believe that you are an expression of God as love, here to share it and to spread it to the world? Does love look personal to you? And is there any part of love that you haven't explored yet? This year, I'm sure we've all had experiences where our hearts have broken open wide. Think for a moment of what has touched you this year. Think of what you've seen or heard, what you've connected to that has reached your heart, that got in there, or that, in fact, even more than getting in there, that you felt your heart outside of your body and it hurt. That you noticed your heart in another beloved, in another place, in another situation or circumstance, and it hit home. There have been so many opportunities and so many experiences this year that have been invitations to feeling our hearts outside of our bodies, to connect with someone else's pain, someone else's story, someone else's suffering, someone else's experience. So what has opened your heart this year? How have you touched the pain of others? It's for each one of us to connect with God as love, but not God as love just for our own benefit, See, we can experience God as love for our own benefit and deny love to others. We can actually be an agent of harm in the world around us if we limit our idea of love and limit our idea of God to ourselves. It's not until we allow our hearts to go gallivanting outside of our body and to experience everyone in the world as ourselves that we truly break into the consciousness that is what the master teacher taught, the Christed presence, the awakened anointed one. When we no longer consider ourselves separate, sentient beings, but we know that the world around us is part of us. Dr. Cornel West said, never forget that justice is what love looks like in public. Never forget that justice is what love looks like in public. Oftentimes when our hearts break in what we call the outer world, it's because we see a lack of love as justice operating in the world around us. So what can we do about it? Well, it matters less how we define God or how we define our religion or our own spiritual practice. And it matters more how that spiritual practice, how that belief defines how we show up, how we think, how we act, how we feel, how we navigate the world around us, not just the world within us. How does your spiritual practice inform how you serve, who you think is worthy? Unless the answer to who you think is worthy is everyone, then we're not expressing the fullness of love. And we are not expressing the fullness of God. Because we are here to be the heart of God, to be the hands of God, to be the voice of God. And that means to be the hands and the heart and the voice of love. And that means to be the hands and the heart and the voice of justice. So what does love look like as a spiritual practice for you? How does your God consciousness inform your actions? And do you know that you're needed and important? Do you know that your voice matters? Do you know that your thoughts mattered? If nothing has touched you this year deeply, so deeply that it kind of brought you to your knees, or it brought, rivers of tears to your eyes, or opened your heart in a way that had never been opened before, you might check in to see if you're resigned, to see if you are fully present, or if you're checking out, right? The author Susan Jeffers says, in all I do, I seek to be a channel of more love. She encourages us to take note on how we feel when we're doing loving actions for others, if we want to know more about God. We can also check into how we feel when we're thinking thoughts about others, when we're thinking thoughts about the world. It should feel good to know that we have a heart full of love and that we believe in this love expressing itself through community. Susan Jeffers says, if it's not about love, it's not about God. So if we're not experiencing our hearts outside of our body, then we're not engaging in this collective idea and experience and opportunity of what it is to be experiencing God together, to be projecting God out. I want to share with you a reading by one of my favorite authors, Sig Paulson, in Your Power to Be. He's a Unity minister and Unity author. And he says this: we cannot depend on leaders of religion, science, or government, or other areas of human endeavor to do the job for us. In a real sense, every person is a world leader. He leads a world of thought, feeling, and imagination. And it is his responsibility and opportunity to capture his own imagination and redeem it, set it free to do the job it is designed to do, for his own benefit and for the benefit of all humanity. It is up to each one of us to replace the reels of limitation and superstition in our consciousness and to insert the reels of truth, light, love, and life. Never underestimate your role in the world of today and tomorrow. Breathe into that. Never underestimate your role in the world of today or tomorrow. Do you think it matters what goes on in your own mind? Do you think it matters what you feel and what you experience when you hear what's going on in our world? I think it does. And I think our spiritual practice happens in our actions, and it also happens in our hearts. Sid goes on to say this. Why should you do this? Why should you care? Why should you be active? Why should it matter? He says this, simply because of the way you are made. You are the image of God. Since this is true, the image you hold of yourself, of your neighbor, of your world is the image you hold or project of God, the Creator. It is your responsibility and opportunity as the imagination power of the universe individualized to hold the best possible images of all things in order that you may assume your true role as a designer and shaper of your world and your part in the universal world. Your incredible role in the cosmic purpose is to image the nature of the Creator, God, good, to image the nature of the Creator and bring it into self-expression by sharing it with your world. So we're here to check in with our image of the Creator and see, does it include everyone and everything, or does it exclude some people, some situations, some places? And to grow it up, to allow it to expand, to allow it to meet this moment, so we can activate what Charles Fillmore called the harmonizing faculty. Love, the harmonizing faculty, and co-create a world that works for all. Does the work we do ourselves matter? Certainly it does. I was recently hosting a AG&T Speaks conversation live stream with the Reverend Dr. Deborah Johnson. And in the Zoom room after the broadcast, someone asked the question about whether or not the work we do as an individual impacts the collective consciousness. So if you know about New Thought, if you know about unity, you know we talk about these ideas of individual consciousness and collective consciousness. My mind and the kind of global thought mind, like the overarching computer of life that is all of us together. And you know what her answer was? Her answer went to this other idea, and she said, there is only one. There is only one. And by that, she didn't mean necessarily that you don't have your own consciousness that affects you and a collective that affects everyone, but that we are all of the same matter. That if we were fish swimming in the sea, we're all of the same sea. If we were music itself, we're all the principle of music and expression. So there is no place where one starts and the other one stops. That we're all part of this collective consciousness. It is all of us. So yes, everything that happens on the external that seems external to this sense being, that seems like it's outside of me, it's in someone else's heart that's breaking, it's someone else's family that's going through it, it's someone else's country, whatever it is. If I have the idea that it's outside of me, it's simply an illusion. It's simply a way to talk about things and to make sense. In order to even speak, we have to package things up with words. But that doesn't change anything. That doesn't change the truth that I am part of this universe I see. Just because I feel like I have, my own skin on and I'm in my own individual body, that doesn't mean that that's true, that that's the fullness of who I am. I'm also the very breath that I'm breathing, and the moment it comes into my body and the moment it leaves my body, it's not contained within this body. But if it doesn't come back in, I'm not me anymore. If I'm not breathing, then this isn't sustained. So we are not separate. And to believe and to act from a foundation of separation is to not know ourselves. It's to not understand God and the fabric of this universe. Everything is interconnected. Everything matters, and everyone is important. So what's in your mind, what's in my mind, the work I do, the work you do, whether it's private and it's only in our own sanctuary, the sanctuary of our minds, or whether it's public, whether it's the action that we take and the things we do to transform our world, the things we do to stand up for co-creating a world that works for all. They both, in and of the same field of consciousness. It all makes a difference. So what is ours to do? We're in the Christmas season. This is the Advent season where we're moving from the beginning of Advent through to the birth of the Christ. This story is not alive and well for each one of us for this many years in history, for this long. It's not alive and well and coming to us now, so we can just stick our heads in a book and talk about the days of history. It's here so we can awaken to the mystery that this story has for each one of us, the mystical aspect, where we allow our hearts to open just a little bit more so that we can feel the presence of God active within us and active around us and among us. I always say in my meditations, there's no place to go to get more God. All Godness is right here, right now. It's all right here, right now. The awakening is right here, right now. Your brothers, your sisters, your beloveds on the planet, they're right here, right now. We're all part of the one heart, and it's the heart of God. It doesn't matter if we say we have different religions, if we say we have different practices and paths, those are all just words forming ideas. It matters how we show up. It matters whether we include people in our hearts or we exclude. It matters if we offer love or we retreat back and we hold our love. So is there anywhere that you might be withholding love? Let's ask ourselves that deeply in this moment and after this moment. Is there anywhere that I am withholding love? And am I willing to pray in the strength and the faith, the ideas, the power to expand my ability to behold love, to expand my ability to offer love, to expand my ability to feel love, to feel myself connected with this incredible infinite universe, to know that we all belong, to know that we all make a difference and we all matter, and to know that it's not an airy-fairy idea that we could co-create a world that works for all, but it is incumbent upon each one of us to engage in that vision and ask ourselves, how am I to bring God to life as this vision? How am I to offer this vision to my world? One of my favorite authors that just touches the heart and speaks to love gives us a tool. The first tool we have is the tool from Sig Paulson about checking in with our minds and making sure that our image center, our imagination center, is in line with the highest field of consciousness, with our true intentions. The second tool is to remember that we matter, that each one of us matters, not to retreat, not to isolate, but to engage, to allow our hearts to be broken open wider, to allow ourselves to let this heart roll around and run around in the world around us and come home to the world within us. So I want to share these words from Wayne Mueller. He says, each of us is necessary. When we isolate and withdraw from humanity, we not only deny ourselves the love, comfort, and nurture available from our friends, family, and neighbors, we also deny others access to our gifts, our wisdom, our heart, and our spirit. Our global family aches for the gifts of each one of us as we seek political and ecological healing among the people and species of the earth. All creation awaits our gifts. All creation awaits our gifts. He goes on to bring us to the third tool today. The third tool is speaking our truth. Now that's something that immediately, even upon hearing it, can shut down the heart of so many. Because so many have learned that it's not safe to speak the truth. Wayne Mueller says this: one of the most powerful healing practices is speaking the truth. We often use silence, dishonesty, and confusion of language to keep ourselves hidden and separate from the rest of humanity. We either confuse ourselves so we can no longer hear what is really true, or we become too frightened to speak what is true for fear of being vulnerable and exposed. Learning to speak the truth with clarity and courage is a potent doorway to intimate community and relationships with others. So are we willing to be with our own discomfort around speaking our truth, knowing that it does take vulnerability, knowing that it does feel risky at times, but that we are here as love in expression to speak our truth and to invite others into love and into an expanded idea of God, one that includes all of humanity and the earth itself, all of creation. Wayne Mueller references Thomas Merton, and he says Thomas Merton speaks of a moment in his own life when he experienced a mutuality of spirit with the community of all people. Thomas Merton said this: then it was as if I suddenly saw the secret beauty of their hearts. The person that each one is in God's eyes. If only they could see themselves as they really are. If only we could see each other that way all of the time, there would be no more war, no more hatred, no more cruelty, no more greed. I suppose the big problem would be that we would all fall down and worship each other. Namaste.